Welcome back to ITW Xtra, powered by JSA. We are here live at ITW 2023 in National Harbor. This is day 3 of our broadcast, our final day. We still have some exciting interviews for you. And joining me live on the expo floor is Ed Galvin. He is the CEO of DC Byte. Ed, welcome to ITW Xtra, powered by JSA.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Yes, it's great to see you here. I know you were just at Data Cloud in Monaco not too long ago. Now we're here at ITW. So you're enjoying the show so far?
I mean, it gets bigger and bolder every year, doesn't it?
It does.
It's fantastic. We're in an industry which is evolving so quickly, and being able to not just look at our own particular area, which is the data center front, but looking at how it interfaces with the network, with the telco side. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic show. One of the biggest ITWs to date. And, you know, I've been hearing a lot and peeking around on your website about how DC Byte demystifies the data center industry. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about that? Particularly, I found this quote: when we first came on the scene, obtaining accurate industry information was virtually impossible. Can you dive a little bit deeper into that for us?
Yeah, I mean, look, the industry has grown incredibly quickly. And,
so fast.
8 years ago, we were talking about people barely acknowledging the existence of their facilities. They felt that secrecy was the first line of defense for their operations. And, like it or not, we're in a situation now where digital infrastructure, data centers, they are in the limelight. And with DC Byte, what we've tried to do is to help the industry, surface out, understand that we are now a established industry, and it's healthy, it's more productive in the long run for us to be able to organize, view, and rationalize the industry. Otherwise, it's always going to be something which has a lot of mystery and opaqueness, and making from our side, making any sort of decisions that are made from a less informed position are always going to be worse decisions.
Yeah. I mean, you talked a lot about the growth rate of the industry, and we've seen it, like you said, over the last 8 years, just completely come to the forefront, and it's going to only continue to grow, right? So we've been hearing a lot about that here on the floor. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about how DC Byte is taking those insights and that growth, and how are you bringing that to market?
I mean, the first thing that you got to do in this industry, because it's growing everywhere, is to be everywhere. There's no substitute for that. So we can't, we're a London-based firm, but we can't do global research from London. So it's getting people in every country, getting the right languages, the right cultural skills, being persistent, not just looking at what's there right now, but it's also looking at what's coming up in the future. Because of the way that the industry is evolving, it's not having any prior assumptions. It's very easy to, shall we say, get the data to fit the model. And that's in an industry which is quintupling in size every 5 years. That is a risky business to go by.
Yeah, it is. And, you just mentioned you are a global company, expanding rapidly in your own right. And there's thousands and thousands of data centers now across the world. So how are you working to gather and compare this data across all these key markets, regardless of location?
A lot of it is working through a lot of shoe leather these days. It's funny. Companies will say one thing, and there may be a slight variation on what's going on in reality. So it's multi-layered. It's as much about looking at building those relationships around the world, making sure that we become seen as that trusted partner for them. But it's equally getting on the ground. It's looking at these sites, and visiting the tier 2, the tier 3 markets as much as you're visiting the tier 1 markets. You can't just rely on looking at those core tier one markets, and then assuming that everything else doesn't need to have the same level of scrutiny. Yeah,
it's so true. I mean, the tier 2 and tier 3 markets are definitely exploding and showing a lot of growth as well. Is that what you're seeing?
Oh God, yeah. And in fact, it's even more than that.
Right.
When you look at where the highest returns are to be found, it's not in building another data center in Ashburn or London. It's going into those markets where there isn't that established player, where you are ultimately solving problems for the hyperscalers.
Exactly.
They want to get into these big markets, into these markets with a lot of opportunity, but at the same time, you want to be making sure that you're able to solve those problems for them, because they can't go in there. They don't know anything about those markets already.
And that's what your research provides.
Correct. Yeah.
Great. So all this talk about what you do, what DC Byte does, can you share any insights in particular? We talked a little bit about tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 markets, but let's get a little bit more geographically specific here, right? So what does it look like for the U.S. market compared to where you're based in London and EMEA and APAC? And we're hearing a lot about these markets. They're emerging, they're exploding. Why don't you give us some key insights there?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, the US and North America is a huge domestic market. There is a lot of opportunity, and that can be a blessing and it can be a curse, because what it means is that because there's such a lot of opportunity to be exploited within North America, it means that comparatively it's much harder when you go outside of North America and going into Europe and Asia, where everything is done a little bit differently. Where there may be ways of thinking, ways of doing business that are not quite the same. And for us, it's been a learning curve. EMEA and APAC are intrinsically already very international markets. There's a lot of US companies who have come to Europe and Asia, EMEA and APAC, but we haven't seen that going the other way. So for me, it's been fascinating seeing this entire enormous industry, this enormous market, and seeing that there is a different way of doing these things. So it's been great, but it's like a very large, significant learning curve compared to just viewing it as another region, like when we first went into Middle East, or when we first went into Southeast Asia, for example.
It's definitely not just any other region, for sure.
It is. We almost carve up the world into. When we talk about APAC, really, it's APAC without China, and I think when we're talking about the Americas, it's the Americas almost without North America. In terms of how different each of those markets are.
So true. Totally different. And thank you for doing all that you do to help data centers and the industry learn and gain insight into these markets. It's critically important, especially as the industry continues to explode and grow. Yeah. Is there anything else that you wanted to add today?
No, it's. I just want to thank everyone who has taken the time to meet with us on the trip. We're in learning mode right now.
Okay.
We've completed our first review of the Americas markets. That's not just the tier 1 markets, but the tier 2 and tier 3 markets. But we're very much coming to the region in learning mode, open to suggestions, opportunities, anything like that we can help with. Get in touch.
And how can viewers get in touch?
Well, we're very active on social media, so you'll see a lot of market spotlights and little information bits of good insights that we can provide on things like LinkedIn in particular. But reach out to us directly. Come onto our website. It's an open door. We're here to talk and discuss your challenges and how we might be able to help.
And the website is?
DCByte.com.
DCByte.com.
That's Byte with a Y.
Byte with a Y. BYTE.
Yeah.
Ed, it's been such a pleasure having you here on ITW Xtra, powered by JSA. Thanks for all you do for our industry and all the great insights and research that you are providing. And thank you, viewers, for tuning in to another episode of ITW Extra, powered by JSA, live from ITW 2023. Happy networking.